Hey, Joe Walsh here. The DACA deadline came and went. Good. Who cares? We'll talk about it when Freedom returns at 5.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're coming to you live from Charles Equipment Energy Systems, our friends here in Des Plaines, part of our AM 560 Signature Bank Business Tour, and it's always fun to be here. They're in the business of providing energy solutions, big-time energy solutions. They've been responsive in hurricanes, for example, where power is out. They're the ones who bring the huge generators down to...
Yeah, they have generators the size of semi-trucks that they bring down to, help people, give them electricity so that they can clean up the area and eat and just, survive.
So we're talking about big energy solutions here, and we'll be talking to the gentlemen who operate this company, one of whom is an excellent cook.
Oh, yeah, Mike. You can say his name, man.
And he's a bit of a character, too. We'll be talking to him at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, so you want to stay tuned for that. Yesterday, Jeannie Ives, so we talked about this show, both with Jeannie Ives and Alderman Napolitano, Anthony Napolitano, the 41st Ward, far northwest side there, the Edison Park area. They held a joint press conference yesterday to talk about that city key ID that has made national news. We've talked about in this show when your alderman, Amy Amaya Powar, was on with Tucker Carlson and got his lunch handed to him.
Oh, yeah.
So Jeannie Ives and Napolitano doing a joint presser for their shared interest in not allowing this ID that Tiny Dancer has concocted to be used as a legitimate form of identification for the purposes of voter registration for people who are in this country illegally.
That's all it's used for, too. And Amaya Powar said, well, then I could take the train with it, too.
Well, I mean,
what does that mean? You need a venture card to take the train.
Well, the point is that, look, if you want to use this ID to check out a library book or to get a venture card, fine. The only issue, and this was narrowly tailored, the legislation that Ives has filed, is it cannot be used for voter registration. Okay. Cannot be used for voter registration. And we'll pick up that discussion here in a little bit. But right now, we have our friend Ambassador John Bolton joining us. John Bolton, former United States Ambassador to the UN, joins us now. And the timing couldn't be better because there's some breaking news. The New York Times reporting that Kim Jong-un saying North Korea is willing to start talks with the U.S. on giving up its nuclear weapons, according to South Korea, per their little confab in Pyongyang. No, Pyongyang.
PF Kings.
North Korea.
Right.
Yes, right. Not ABC News version. Recently, and so let's get more insight on that from Ambassador Bolton. Thanks for joining us, Ambassador Bolton. Appreciate it.
Well, glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So how much stock do you put in this New York Times report about what the South Koreans are saying, or is this just Kim Jong-un, trying to manipulate and propagandize?
Yeah, well, look, this is the umpty-umph offer by North Korea to talk about giving up their nuclear weapons. We've been doing this for 25 years. The North Koreans have pledged in written international agreements 4 times during that period to give up nuclear weapons. They've lied about it every time. So I'd like to say, when you've tried something for 25 years and failed, what makes you think in year 26 it's going to be any different? Now, why are the North Koreans doing it now? I think precisely because they are so close, after nearly 3 decades of trying, to being able to deliver nuclear weapons on target in the United States. CIA Director Mike Pompeo said a few weeks ago he thought that they could master all the complexities that were necessary to do that within a handful of months. His phrase, a handful of months. So I think talking about a freeze on testing and, maybe just freeze the American and South Korean military maneuvers that were postponed because of the Olympics, and we'll just talk about it. And at the end of 6 months, the North Koreans will have deliverable nuclear weapons if we fall for it.
So you think this is all just a cat and mouse game?
Yeah, I think this is a little diversion. Isn't it exciting to talk to North Korea? Honestly, when you've talked to them so many times in the last 25 years, it's hard to keep count. Again, somebody has to provide some compelling evidence why talking to them now will make a difference. What I fear is that the next step is that people say, what an amazing breakthrough, as if they've forgotten the last 25 years of history. Right. The news media are very good at that. They have short attention spans. But people will say, well, we have to help create the proper atmosphere. And, we need to prime the pump a little bit. We need to show good faith, all of which is code language for make some concessions, which the North Koreans would happily put in their pocket, as they have repeatedly since going back to the Korean War armistice negotiations in 1953. That's the way they negotiate. So, the Trump administration has said previously they're happy to talk to North Korea, but we won't let up any of the pressure on North Korea. I think that's an absolute minimum. I think the pressure needs to be increased as they get closer to achieving their objective. But I have no doubt in parts of the State Department they're breaking out the champagne this morning, saying, "Great, let's head to Beijing for more talks and keep the party going." That's a way of guaranteeing that North Korea gets deliverable nuclear weapons, which, by the way, they will be happy to sell to anybody with the right amount of money.
And also, too, I mean, part of this is the D.C. press corps' love affair with Kim Jong-un's sister, the gold medalist in diplomacy at the Pyeongchang Games, according to the D.C. press corps, his propaganda minister and sister. And I just wonder if North Korea is seizing on all of that goodwill foisted upon North Korea through his sister to then bring the South Koreans in and make it look like there's some rapprochement. And as you say, the entire thing, including as it pertains to South Korea, is diversionary.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new diplomatic first here. Kim Jong-un has met with representatives of South Korea. Well, big deal. His father met with representatives of South Korea on more occasions, I think, than we can count. We know the South Koreans funded North Korea's participation in the Olympic Games. It's another way. The North Koreans are the best grifters and cadgers. I mean, they make Wimpy and his offer, how about a hamburger today and I'll pay you tomorrow. They make him look like a piker. And there's just more of this coming. You can see it. It's very dangerous, and nobody should be deceived by it. But I'm sure the usual suspects will be deceived by it.
Well, besides meeting, they also set up a hotline where they can talk. President Moon and Kim Jong-un can speak freely and directly to each other. And then there's this April summit that's going to be held, on the South Korean side of the demilitarized zone that divides the two countries. And do you think President Trump will soon get involved in this? Do you think there will actually ever be talks between Kim Jong-un and President Trump?
Well, I don't think there should be, because I think simply the presence of the American president in the same room with Kim Jong-un gives him legitimacy that is beyond calculation and value. I do think this whole thing is just to capture our attention while they're really busy putting the last touches on their ballistic missiles and thermonuclear warheads. As I said, Mike Pence thinks it would only take a handful of months. I don't know exactly what that means, of course, but it sounds like before the end of this year, absent sabotage or other steps that might slow it down. So, it's just hard to credit that after 25 years or more of trying, the North Koreans are within a handful of months, and now they're prepared to say, we weren't that serious. We're prepared to give it up right now. It's just, it doesn't wash, but there are lots of people looking for bridges to buy on the cheap, and I'm sure we're going to hear from them in the next few days.
I want to get your take on some of the developments in the whole Bob Mueller special counsel investigation, Russian collusion, and everything under that umbrella. Not just Sam Nunberg's bizarre day on the cable TV news networks, but also this story about the Australian diplomat who provided the FBI with the information that launched the FBI's Russia probe. The infamous conversation over cocktails with George Papadopoulos, this guy, Alexander Downer, who's now the Australian ambassador to London. He also...
Right. Yeah, I know Alexander Downer. I mean, he is a friend of the United States, whether he was a member of the ruling, the administration that was a conservative administration in the early part of the Bush administration, whether he fully understood what he was doing or whether it was others in the Australian government that really moved this along, I don't know. But, it's just another example of the reach of the Clinton Foundation and why we're still looking at the tip of the iceberg here in terms of the information we have on so many of these fronts. So, there's more here to look at. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, talking about a $25 million donation that he apparently helped arrange from Australia to the Clinton Foundation to support screening and medication to AIDS patients in Asia. This is back in 2006, but it still is, something to factor in, and kind of in the interest of full disclosure and full context. And I also wonder about how you interpreted what Intel Chairman Nunes said the other day, that the person who was sharing or getting information from Russia was, or the organization was, the Clinton campaign.
Yeah, again, this is obviously Congressman Nunes and others have seen information that's not public, and I think it's entirely consistent with the argument that many in the intelligence community have made, that the Russians were trying to sow mistrust and corrode the public faith in our institutions, and even Mueller's indictment. It's only a piece of the picture, that's for sure, but it shows the Russians were prepared to help all kinds of candidates, including Bernie Sanders,
right,
and the Green Party candidate, in an effort, I think, to cause confusion in the American electorate. So if they thought they could entrap the Clinton campaign, I have no doubt they'd be prepared to try it. There's certainly no principled reason for them not to.
He is Ambassador John Bolton, former United States Ambassador to the UN. Ambassador Bolton, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Well, thanks again for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You switched to Chicago's Morning Answer, an AM